Hey, welcome back to the channel. Imagine holding a tiny silver coin, once worth just 2 shillings, now commanding over $500,000. This isn't pocket change, it's treasure. These are the rare Australian florins that changed history, and their stories will blow your mind. Let's moving on. First up, the 1924 Australian one. Florin is one of those rare treasures that instantly captures the attention of serious collectors and investors alike, not only for its numismatic rarity but also for the aura of prestige it carries within the history of Australian coinage. Struck during a time of great economic uncertainty and political change, this particular florin is an exquisite artifact of the interwar period, bridging Australia's fledgling independence from Britain with its evolving national identity. The florin itself, valued at 2 shillings in the pre-decimal system, was a common coin in everyday use, but the 1924 issue holds a different kind of legacy, one that makes it a king among peers. Minted in limited numbers, the 1924 florin became renowned for its scarcity almost immediately after production. While many florins circulated heavily, enduring decades of wear in pockets, purses and tills, only a small portion of the 1924 mintage survived in pristine condition. It is these very few surviving examples, preserved with extraordinary care or simply by chance, that have become the crown jewels of Australian coin collecting. Graded at the highest levels of mint state, these coins gleam with sharp strike definition, lustrous fields, and minute details of the coat of arms, reflecting the artistry of their time. But beyond their physical beauty lies their undeniable financial significance. Today, a 1924 Australian 1 florin in superb condition has commanded a staggering market value of around $310,000. This is not a speculative number. It represents real-world auction, results in private sales driven by a global community of collectors who recognize both rarity and demand. To put it into perspective, this single coin, once worth merely 2 shillings in its own day, now represents the price of a luxury home, a fleet of cars, or even a diversified investment portfolio. Its transformation from pocket change to a 6-figure collectible highlights the incredible potential of numismatics as a field of both passion and financial opportunity. For collectors, owning a 1924 florin isn't just about possessing a coin. It's about claiming a slice of Australian heritage, a tangible connection to the social, political, and cultural journey of the nation. It's a conversation starter, a legacy piece to pass down through generations, and a portfolio asset with proven resilience. Few coins encapsulate the drama of rarity, condition, and demand in the way this one does, making the 1924 florin not just a coin, but a masterpiece of value, history, and enduring prestige. Next up, the 1927 Canberra commemorative florin stands as one of the most iconic and historically significant coins ever produced in Australia, minted to mark the momentous opening of the nation's capital, Canberra. At a time when Australia was still solidifying its identity on the world stage, the decision to strike a commemorative coin was both symbolic and celebratory. Unlike ordinary circulation coins, this florin carried a deeper sense of national pride, minted not simply for commerce, but as a statement of progress, identity, and unity for a young federation. Designed with careful attention to detail, the 1927 Canberra florin departs from the standard coat of arms and instead presents the Parliament House in Canberra as its central motif. The artistry is unmistakable, with fine architectural lines, ornamental detailing, and a commanding sense of perspective captured within the coin's limited canvas. Around it, inscriptions emphasize the commemoration, ensuring that this florin was never just another 2-shilling piece, but a striking reminder of the capital's inauguration. It remains one of the earliest Australian commemorative coins, setting the stage for future issues that blend artistry, symbolism, and collectible appeal. While more of these coins were struck compared to the rarer circulation issues of the 1920s, their journey through time has created its own kind of rarity. Many examples were heavily handled, gifted, or kept as keepsakes without proper preservation, As a result, high-grade, uncirculated specimens with full brilliance and sharp detail are far less common than one might imagine. It is these elite survivors, with immaculate surfaces and original luster, that command extraordinary premiums on the modern market. Today, an exceptional 1927 Canberra commemorative Florin can achieve valuations as high as $58,000, a testament to its enduring desirability and cultural resonance. This valuation doesn't merely reflect scarcity, but also the coin's unmatched symbolism in the Australian numismatic story. Collectors worldwide seek it not only as a rare artifact but also as a milestone, the first commemorative coin to proudly bear Australian architecture and history upon its face. It appeals simultaneously to historians, coin enthusiasts, and investors who recognize the powerful blend of tangible heritage and appreciating market value. Owning a 1927 Canberra florin in premium condition means holding a living testament to one of Australia's most important national moments. It's a coin that tells a story far bigger than its silver weight. It speaks to the optimism of a young country, the pride in its capital, and the artistry of its minting traditions. At $58,000, it proves that coins can transcend their monetary origins, evolving into rare cultural treasures and highly sought-after investments. It is in every sense a numismatic jewel, celebrating not only Canberra, but the enduring legacy of Australia itself. Next up, the 1931 Australian one. Florin is a remarkable piece that stands as both a product of its time and a survivor of extraordinary circumstances. Struck during the depths of the Great Depression, this coin embodies an era defined by economic turmoil, uncertainty, and resilience. While Australia struggled with high unemployment and the aftershocks of global financial collapse, the florin remained a vital coin of commerce, equal to 2 shillings in value. It played an essential role in everyday trade, yet hidden among the circulating issues of the period. The 1931 florin would eventually rise to become one of the most collectible and historically significant coins in the pre-decimal series. The design of the Most Valuable Florin adhered to the traditional format of the Australian coat of arms, featuring the kangaroo and emu flanking the shield, topped by a 7-pointed Commonwealth star. At first glance, it may appear unremarkable compared to more flamboyant commemorative pieces, but rarity is not always born from design. Often it is forged from circumstance. The 1931 florin was minted in relatively modest numbers at a time when Australia's economy simply did not have the capacity for excess production. Many of the coins that were issued saw heavy circulation, quickly acquiring the scuffs, scratches, and wear of daily life in a country under immense strain. Because of this, pristine examples of the Most Valuable Florin are extraordinarily difficult to find. Collectors today prize those rare survivors in high mint state condition, where luster is intact and the fine details of the arms remain sharp and fully struck. It is precisely this scarcity of quality specimens that fuels the coin's modern market value. In auctions and private sales, exceptional examples of the 1931 florin have achieved valuations as high as $33,000. This staggering figure underscores the principle that rarity, condition, and historical significance combine to transform a once ordinary coin into a prize of immense worth. For numismatists, the 1931 florin is more than just silver. It is a window into an era when every coin mattered, when economic struggle meant survival often depended on small change. To own such a piece today is to hold a tangible reminder of history's resilience, preserved against the odds and elevated into the ranks of elite Australian collectibles, whether for a private investor, a museum, or a dedicated collector. The 1931 florin stands proudly as a story, a symbol, and an asset, commanding both admiration and respect at its $33,000 valuation. Next up, the 1932 Australian 1 florin. Among the pantheon of Australian rare coins, the 1932 Australian 1 florin occupies a throne of almost mythical status. To collectors, it is not just rare, it is a legend, Struck during one of the most challenging years of the Great Depression, this florin represents the ultimate marriage of scarcity, survival, and numismatic prestige. It is widely recognized as one of the most valuable coins in Australian pre-decimal currency, commanding breathtaking sums at auction, as much as $680,000 in premium condition. On its surface, the coin maintains the traditional Australian coat of arms design, continuing the aesthetic lineage of the early florins. Yet behind this seemingly ordinary presentation lies a rarity so extreme that it defies comparison with most other issues. The 1932 florin was produced in vanishingly small numbers, the exact mintage shrouded in mystery, but known to be exceedingly limited due to the economic austerity of the era. For many collectors, simply encountering one in any grade is an event of immense importance. What elevates the 1932 florin even further is the survival rate. Many of the coins struck were lost to circulation, melted down, or worn into obscurity, leaving only a handful of pristine examples to endure the decades. Those rare survivors, when preserved in mint state or near mint condition, have become the ultimate prizes of Australian numismatics. Each one represents a pinnacle acquisition, the kind of coin that cements a collection's reputation and often becomes the centerpiece around which entire portfolios are built. The modern market reflects this reverence. At $680,000, the 1932 florin rivals fine art, rare wine, and luxury assets in both value and desirability. Its appeal extends far beyond Australia's borders, drawing international attention from elite collectors who understand that coins like this are not just investments. They are cultural artifacts, tangible pieces of history whose value only deepens with time. In the global numismatic world, the 1932 florin is a statement coin, one that instantly signals prestige, taste, and an appreciation for the very finest rarity. But beyond its monetary allure, the 1932 florin tells a powerful story of resilience. Minted during a period of profound struggle, it embodies Australia's perseverance through economic hardship and the enduring legacy of its currency heritage. It is proof that even in times of scarcity, extraordinary things can emerge, objects of such rarity and significance that they transcend their humble origins. To own a 1932 Australian florin is to possess not merely a coin, but a national treasure. It is an investment with extraordinary market credibility, a piece of heritage with global resonance, and a symbol of rarity at its absolute peak. At $680,000, it stands as the crown jewel of Australian numismatics, admired, coveted, and immortalized in history. Next up, the 1933 Australian one. Florin is a coin that commands instant respect in numismatic circles, not only for its scarcity, but also for its deep connection to one of the most turbulent periods in modern history. By 1933, the Great Depression had reached its height, and across Australia, households were struggling to endure record unemployment, collapsing wages, and uncertainty about the nation's future. Coins were not luxuries. They were lifelines, circulating daily as the backbone of commerce. And yet, hidden within that ocean of currency, the 1933 florin quietly emerged as one of the greatest rarities of the entire pre-decimal era. At first glance, the 1933 florin carries the same classic Australian coat of arms design, familiar to collectors of the era. The kangaroo and emu guard the Commonwealth shield, surmounted by the seven-pointed star and framed by the words Australia, and one florin, 2 shillings. But what makes this coin extraordinary is not its design. It is the story of survival. The mintage for 1933 was extremely limited. Compared to more abundant years, the output reduced by the tightening economic policies of the Depression. The coins that were released entered immediate circulation, where they endured heavy wear in an economy that wrung every ounce of life from its money. As a result, examples of the 1933 florin in high grade are almost unknown. The majority show the scars of daily use, rubbed details, worn edges, and diminished luster. Only a tiny fraction survived in the upper levels of preservation, and those fortunate survivors now command astronomical figures at auction. Today, the market places a value of around $290,000 on a specimen in exceptional condition, making it not merely rare, but truly elite in the Australian coinage story. The prestige of the 1933 florin comes from more than numbers. It represents a poignant symbol of endurance, minted at a time when every coin mattered to working families. To hold such a piece today is to connect directly with that era, to imagine the countless hands it might have passed through, the markets it might have served, and the lives it might have sustained. Now lifted from its utilitarian roots, it has been transformed into a masterpiece of rarity, historical narrative, and collector prestige. For the investor or numismatist, a 1933 florin is more than an acquisition. It is an anchor piece, a definitive statement that sets a collection apart from all others. Few coins carry such a balance of rarity, story, and value. At $290,000, it represents the pinnacle of opportunity, the chance to own not just silver, but history itself, distilled into one of the greatest numismatic treasures of Australia. Next up, the 1934 Melbourne centenary. Florin occupies a unique and celebrated place in the history of Australian coinage. Unlike the scarce circulation issues of the early 1930s, this florin was struck to commemorate a proud moment, the centenary of Melbourne, one of Australia's great cities. It was also issued in conjunction with the centenary of Victoria, marking 100 years since the settlement of the colony. At a time when commemorative coins were a rarity in themselves, the decision to create this florin was both forward-looking and deeply symbolic, embedding history, pride, and artistry into a single piece of silver. The design alone sets it apart as a masterpiece. The obverse still bore the portrait of King George V, dignified and regal, but it was the reverse that captured collectors' imaginations. Instead of the standard arms, it presented a graceful and powerful image of a rider on a rearing horse, intended to symbolize progress and the pioneering spirit. The design was bold, modern, and artistic, a departure from the functional emblems of commerce. It was a coin that celebrated not only a milestone, but also the ideals of movement, energy, and growth that characterized the nation's trajectory. Though more were minted than some of the ultra-scarce Depression-era florins, the Melbourne centenary issue faced its own challenges of survival. Many were purchased as souvenirs of the centenary, tucked away in drawers or keepsake boxes. Yet proper preservation was rare, and countless coins eventually succumbed to tarnish, mishandling, or outright loss. As such, examples in high, mint state condition with full luster are surprisingly difficult to secure. Today, the finest, survivors, coins preserved, with their original brilliance and sharp detail, achieve prices of up to $74,000 at auction, reflecting their enduring status as one of Australia's most desirable commemoratives. This valuation is not simply about rarity, it is about symbolism. The 1934 Melbourne centenary, Florin, represents one of the earliest expressions of commemorative coinage in Australia, setting the stage for future issues like the 1951 Federation Florin or the later decimal commemoratives. It embodies artistry, history, and national pride, all encapsulated in a piece of silver smaller than a palm. For collectors, it is both an investment and a statement of taste, admired for its beauty as much as for its historical weight. To own one of these coins today is to hold a cultural artifact that speaks to the progress of a city, the pride of a state, and the growth of a nation. At $74,000, it represents a rare opportunity to bridge numismatics with art, to capture both financial value and cultural resonance. The 1934 Melbourne centenary florin remains, without question, one of the crown jewels of Australian commemorative issues, a shining symbol of heritage, artistry, and enduring prestige. Next up, the 1936 Australian one. Florin is a coin of extraordinary historical resonance, minted during a year that marked both continuity and change for Australia and the wider British Empire. It was the final year of King George V's reign, and unbeknownst to the people of the time, His death in January 1936 would usher in one of the most tumultuous years in royal history, including the brief reign of Edward VIII. Against this backdrop, the 1936 florin stands as the last of its kind, the final Australian florin to bear the portrait of George V, a closing chapter in a numismatic era. The design followed the traditional Australian coat of arms, with its iconic emu and kangaroo flanking the Commonwealth shield. While familiar, this design takes on added depth in the 1936 issue, representing the culmination of nearly a quarter-century of George V's rule. Every line of the engraving, every curve of the shield, every detail of the star above, all reflect the artistry and stability of an era that was, by its end, overshadowed by both depression and the looming shadow of global conflict. Rarity is what transforms this coin from historical curiosity into a masterpiece of collectability. The mintage of the 1936 florin was limited compared to other years, and many of the coins issued entered circulation immediately, where they endured the rigors of daily use. As such, surviving high-grade examples are astonishingly rare. Coins with sharp definition, mirror-like luster, and minimal wear are counted among the elite of Australian numismatics. This rarity has translated directly into modern market values. Today, a 1936 florin in pristine condition commands as much as $52,000, a sum that elevates it well beyond its modest 2-shilling denomination. This valuation underscores the demand from collectors who prize not only its scarcity but also its status as the end of an era, the last florin of George V, and a symbolic transition toward a new and uncertain chapter in both royal and Australian history. For serious collectors, the 1936 florin is far more than a coin. It is a narrative frozen in silver, a moment when monarchy, economy, and national identity intersected. To acquire one is to take ownership of a story as much as an artifact. At $52,000, it represents one of the most important acquisitions in pre-decimal Australian coinage, blending historical gravitas with undeniable rarity and market prestige. Next up, the 1938 Australian 1 florin is a landmark coin in the numismatic history of Australia, standing as the first florin of King George VI's reign and a striking departure from the design traditions that had dominated the earlier issues. It was minted during a pivotal time. George VI had ascended the throne in 1936 following the abdication of his brother, Edward VIII, and by 1938, Australia's coinage bore for the first time the portrait of the new monarch. This change marked not merely a new chapter in currency, but also a powerful symbol of continuity in the Commonwealth, at a moment when the world itself was heading toward unprecedented upheaval. The obverse of the 1938 florin presented a fresh royal effigy, George VI facing left, crafted by the sculptor Thomas Humphrey Paget. It was crisp, modern and regal, introducing a monarch who would later guide his people through the storm of the Second World War. The reverse, however, was even more revolutionary. Gone was the familiar coat of arms design of earlier florins, replaced instead by a bold new artistic statement. The coin displayed the Australian coat of arms as revised in 1938, flanked by a kangaroo and emu in sleek, streamlined style. Beneath it stretched the motto, "Advance Australia," a declaration of national identity and forward momentum. This was more than a redesign. It was a statement of confidence. Australia, still young as a federation, was asserting itself more distinctly with coinage that felt unmistakably modern, proudly Australian in every detail. Yet as with so many coins, rarity came not from design, but from circumstance. The 1938 florin, while struck in larger numbers, faced challenges of survival. The silver issues of the late 1930s were heavily circulated, enduring decades of use before decimalization in 1966. Few were preserved with the care needed to survive in pristine condition, and among those few, only the sharpest strikes with full luster and immaculate surfaces achieved elite collector status. Today, the 1938 Florin commands a staggering valuation of up to $125,000 in superb mint state condition. This figure reflects both its role as a first of type, the inaugural florin of George Fixie, and its rarity in such high grades. Collectors and investors alike prize it for its transitional importance, representing not only a change of monarch, but also a broader artistic and national shift. To own the 1938 Australian Florin is to hold a piece of history that marked the dawn of a new royal era, the modernization of national design, and the calm before the storm of global conflict. At $125,000, it is not just a coin, but a milestone, one that bridges artistry, sovereignty, and heritage, embodying the powerful intersection of numismatics and history. Next up, the 1939 Australian florin is nothing short of legendary, a coin of immense rarity and one of the crown jewels of Australian numismatics. Issued in the year that marked the outbreak of the Second World War, it carries with it a historical gravity that extends far beyond silver and strike. This was a coin minted in the shadow of global conflict, a piece of currency that today stands as one of the most sought-after and valuable of all Australian pre-decimal issues. At first glance, the 1939 florin shares the same general format introduced in 1938 under George VI, a bold coat of arms supported by the kangaroo and emu, surmounted by the seven-pointed star, with Advance Australia proudly beneath. Yet what makes this coin extraordinary is not what was changed, but what was produced in so vanishingly small a number. The 1939 florin is one of the rarest circulation issues of the entire Australian series. Its mintage was extraordinarily limited, due in part to the economic pressures of the war, years and shifting priorities at the mint. Rarity alone would make the 1939 florin remarkable, but survival adds another layer. The few that were struck entered circulation during a time when coins were used relentlessly. Soldiers, families, and industries alike relied on every shilling and florin as nations prepared for war. As a result, the majority of surviving examples are well worn, their once bold features dulled by constant handling. The number of coins preserved in high, mint state grades is so small as to be almost mythical, which explains why, in today's market, a pristine 1939 florin can achieve valuations of up to $330,000. This figure places it in the rarest echelon of Australian coinage, the kind of artifact that collectors dream of but only a handful will ever hold. Its appeal lies not just in scarcity, but in symbolism. This was the florin of 1939, the year Australia joined the fight against Nazi Germany, the year the world descended into chaos. It is a coin that speaks of resilience, patriotism, and survival, minted at the very edge of peace and war. For the collector, the 1939 florin is more than an acquisition. It is a centerpiece, the crown of a collection, the coin that instantly elevates its surroundings. For the investor, it is an asset with proven rarity, carrying both numismatic and historical weight that guarantees enduring demand. Its market value of $330,000 underscores the extraordinary intersection of beauty, scarcity, and history, a trifecta that only the rarest of coins ever achieve. Owning a 1939 Australian florin is like owning a fragment of destiny, a piece of silver that embodies the nation's transition into one of the most defining eras of the 20th century. It is not just a coin, it is an icon. At $330,000, it represents numismatic prestige at its absolute highest, a testament to both history and the enduring power of rarity.